Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for your time today in joining me for this lecture. In this lecture, I'll be showing you how to query a single table with all the columns or attributes in that table using the select and from keywords. I'll also show you how to query a single table with selected columns or attributes, also using the select and from keywords. The select and from keyword are very important in T-SQL. Understanding how to use the select and from keywords in querying a single table or tables will lay the foundation for all the other queries you will be generating on relational database management system. So if you're going to be working with SQL Server using T-SQL, understanding how the select and from keywords work will lay the foundation for all the other queries. So it's important to understand the basics of how the select and from keywords work. So we'll be demonstrating this using two tables, using single tables. I have got SQL Server Management Studio open, also referred to as SSMS. This is the main tool that you use in generating your query. So the select statement we'll be creating will be using this tool here. So to begin, we need to open up a new query window by clicking on this button here. Click on that and you should have a new query window there. We will be using the AdventureWorks 2014 database, which is this database here. So we're going to assume that we are the administrators of this database, and we're going to generate some basic query using the select and from keyword. So this AdventureWorks database has several schemas and tables. So this is the AdventureWorks database here, and these are the tables. So there are several schemas in the database. You've got the human resources schema, you've got the person schema, and you've got production, and so many more. So let's start our simple select statement. I'm going to use, say, the human resources schema, and let's try with the department table. So to begin, you need to select the database. I had specified earlier that I'll be using the AdventureWorks 2014 database. However, the database is not selected here. I can either manually select it by doing this from the database drop-down list, or use the keyword use to specify the database, and then the database engine will ignore what's there and use this one. All right. And then on the next line, I type in go kinds of signals me to proceed now that I have specified the database. So the database engine will now run the query I write against this database I have specified. So on line 3, I will begin by typing the select keyword. Line 4, I will type in the from. Okay, right. So because I'm going to use the human resources schema and the department table, I will specify the table from. The select is where the columns will come from, the fields in the table, while the from is where the table is coming from. So this squiggly red lines here is complaining because I have not specified the table. So to specify the table, I'll type in the schema first, which is human resources. You can see the IntelliSense has given me a suggestion because it's trying to think what I'm trying to write. So yes, it's correct. I want that. And then, so this is now the table, the schema. Then I need to specify the table. So again, IntelliSense has given me a list by me just putting in a period or dot. So I'll select department. So I've now got my schema and table. The reason I have defined my table first is so that when I start selecting the columns or I want, the IntelliSense could pick out based on the table I have defined. So in this example, I am going to select all the attributes or all the columns from this table. So the way to do that is to just specify the asterisk. So by using this asterisk, it will return all the columns from the table. Okay, all the columns from this table it will return. If you can look, it's kind of like listed them there. If I put my mouse over there, the mouse tip gives you a clue of all the tables, of all the columns or attributes from the departments table. All right, and then I need to end that with a semicolon and then type in a go to indicate I have finished the command. So to run this or to get the data from this table, I need to click on this execute. Click on that. So this is the output. It has returned 16 rows. Okay, so it has returned all the columns from this department table because I've used the asterisk. So when you use the asterisk, it will return all the columns. Also note that the columns are specified in the select field. On line 3 is where you will normally select the columns. The from is where you specify the table and the schema. So this is a simple select statement in combination with the from keyword. So in this example, I've used a select keyword and a from keyword to pull all the data from a table. The table we've used is the departments table belonging to the human resources schema, which in turn belongs to the AdventureWorks database. Next, we are going to use the same table again, but this time, rather than return all the columns or attributes from this table, we are going to be selective with the columns we use. So to do that, what I'll do, I'll just copy all this code and paste it in from line 7. Okay, and what I'll do here, rather than use the asterisk, I don't want all the columns. I will specify the columns I need. So I will go for department. I'll type in D and the IntelliSense should guide me. So I'll go for department ID. So I only want 2 columns, department ID and then the name. So I'll type in department ID. See, the IntelliSense will give me a guide. I'll select that. I want that. You separate the columns from each other using a comma. So the next column I want will be the name. So I'll type in name. See, it's giving me an idea there. Okay, so you don't need to put a comma at the end of the last column. So this is the second query here, where I have been selective with the columns. I have specifically only asked for 2 columns to be returned from this department table rather than all the columns like I did in the previous query. So what I'll do now, I'll just highlight whereby you've got multiple queries on the same query window. you can either highlight what you're trying to run. So for example, I can highlight that I only want to run this, or you can run everything on the query and you have two windows here rather than this one. So in this case, I just want to execute this one. So what I'll do, I will click on execute. As you can see, it's giving me just the two columns I have requested for: department ID and the name. So this is how you can be selective with the attributes or columns from a table. If I execute everything on this query window, it will give me two windows. Notice here I've only got one, but if I execute, it will give me two. So let me execute that. So it's giving me two. This is for the first query, and then this is for the second query. All right, where it's just giving me two column, department ID and the name. In this lecture, we learned how to use the select and from keywords. These two keywords are very important because they will form the foundation for your queries in T-SQL. So most of the T-SQL you write against the SQL Server databases will focus or stem from the select and from keywords. If you have an understanding of how to use the select and from keywords, it will make your T-SQL queries a lot easier because you've got the basic understanding of the select and from keywords, and then you can build on that. But understanding how both keywords work is really important. We were able to query a single table using all the columns from that table. We also queried the same table using selected columns from that table. Thank you so much for your time.